Okay, Crow Babes, I was finally able to create a tutorial for this long, chunky cardigan. Let's get into it. So believe it or not, this is super easy, simple. All you need is this chunky yarn, some scissors, and your hands. You are going to need about maybe 10 to 12 balls of yarn, so prepare yourself for that because these are not cheap. First, you want to start with a knot, slip knot, something like I did here, and we're going to start off with the foundation chain. So in order for you to do that, you're just going to slip your finger through and pull the yarn and make a little loop, and you're going to continue on doing this. You want to make this as long as your shoulder width, and what that means is just measuring your backside from shoulder to shoulder. For an example, I did 20 loops, which was 25 inches. You're going to want to have an even number of loops. In my case, I did 20. You may have 22, you may have 24, but just make sure it's even, and I'll show you why. Once you finish your foundation chain, now you want to start the second row, and you're just going to pull the yarn through each loop, pull up, and you want to count as well. So that was 2, now we're on 3, because that first one is 1. And now this is 4. You just want to count and make sure that it's the same number that you created. For me, it was 20. And you want to pay attention which side you're working on. The opposite side is like pearls. This is the side that I like because you can just easily pull through. You're not going to be turning your work. You're just going to be leaving it like this and continue to pull those up. Now I'm showing you the third row. Like I said, all you're doing is putting your little fingers through and pulling the yarn up. They're like pretty much you did like maybe 2 or 3 rows. You don't got to keep counting. And you want to just keep going. You're going to keep doing this until you reach a length. So the length is from your shoulders to your ankles or to the floor. You want to keep doing this until you've reached that preference. You don't have to measure that. You can just kind of just put it up against you. Or if you're making it for somebody, get their measurements. Now you can pause the video to about here, and then I'll meet you back once you're done. Right here, I'm just showing you how to connect your yarn once, because those balls of yarns go fast. All you got to do is just tie it in a knot. It's not going anywhere. Double tie it and then clip the excessive strings and keep going. And what I like to do is keep that knot in the back of my work. I don't want it to be in the front of my work, and the front of my work is what's showing. So yeah, you want to keep the imperfections to the back. The back of the work or the inside work is the purl side for me. So you can see the difference between the linear side and the purl side. Now we're going to work on the front panels, and hopefully my instruction by voice will help you, because I don't think my presentation was as clear. But that number of links that you create, you want to divide that by 2. And the reason why you want it to be even is because you don't want to have a loop in the middle or your work is going to be uneven. So now you're going to count whatever number you started with divided by 2. In my case, it'll be 10. So you're no longer working the whole chain. You're only going to be working 10 and going up. Work those chains. That's going to be your front panel. It's going to flap over your shoulder. And you want to do it as long as your back panel. I will show you a picture of what I mean. And then as you see right here, we are going back down those 10 chains and just working it back and forth. You're just working half of a side, and then we'll get to the other half. And this is what I mean by the 2 front panels. Right now we're working on one, and then we'll work on the other. But you see how it flaps over your shoulder, and then we will eventually connect it together. You got to make room for your armhole, and then make the sleeve, and that's pretty much it. Now once you got that front panel to the length of the back panel, it's time to cast off and seal it up. So how you do that is you make 2 loops, then take the first one and go over the second one. You're going to do this all the way down. Put a loop in the next one, and the one before that, you put it over it. You're going to use this technique when you're finished the other panel, and also when you finish up the sleeves. Once you're done, you can clip the tail, then feed it back through the hole and pull it tight to secure it, to secure the end of your work, and then just thread it in your work so that you can't see it. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you want to do the other panel, so just go ahead and attach some yarn to your work. Make sure it's secure, and then start pulling through those loops, and it should be the same number as the other side. And then it should look something like this. Like I said, we have to sew the sides together, leaving a armhole. All right, we're almost there, almost to the finish line. Now we're about to sew up the side panels. You want to line up the front panel with the back panel and lay them on top of each other, inside out. As you can see, this is the purl side. So you're just going to tie some yarn at the bottom corner and just make sure it's secure. And we're going to sew up from the bottom to the armpit. And you want to leave about 12 inches from the shoulder blade to the armpit. And I will show you in a second. You want to pull some length out from the tail of the yarn. Just cut it. And you're just sewing it up like you would do like some, I guess, some shoestrings in the shoe. Just make sure it's real tight. And I'll show you here. And yes, you want to sew up the side until you've reached 12 inches so that we can have an armhole and create the sleeves. So right here, I'm just measuring just to make sure. This looks like it was a little bit too long, so I just went up a little bit to make sure it's 12. Turn your work right side so that you can work on the sleeve. You may have some yarn left over from when you were sewing up your work, but if not, just go ahead and attach some yarn Make sure it's secure. Now what I'm about to do is just create loops around the armhole, and you want to make sure you count these because and make sure you remember the number, because you want to do the same exact thing on the other armhole. You don't want your arm sleeves to be uneven. So I did 15. I think between 15 and 18 is a good number. So just make sure you count. And like I said, you want to always count the first 3 rows. And you're going to keep going around and counting 15, because 15 is once your row is complete and you start over at 1 again. That's how you know you made a full circle. And just keep going till you go. I messed up a little bit here because I think it wasn't 15 and I really wanted 15. So I just adjusted. And then you just keep going up until you reach the desired sleeve length. And then when you're done, you just cast off your sleeve like I showed you before. And then make sure you work the other side. You don't want no half work, half done work. So you do the exact same thing on the other side. While y'all working on that, I just want to give a quick shout out to this YouTuber, Fantasia. I think her name is So On with Tay. Just for helping a girl out, because it was a lot of people just gatekeeping how to make this. And she inspired me to help you out as well. So thanks, Fantasia. So when you're done, just make sure everything looks even on both sides. And you can play around with the measurements. You can make this thing shorter instead of long. And here is the finished product. I hope you guys enjoyed my tutorial. Love you.